Welcome to Greenable Woodbridge. I am your host, Carolyn Ehrlich. Today's guest is an associate specialist at the Rutgers Cooperative Water Resources Program. And I asked Chris before it's Chris Obropta. I almost forgot to say what your name is. And we work with you all the time doing great things around town. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about your program, what you do. And I know that you started working there 16 years ago when probably nobody even knew the words green infrastructure and water resources, and how that has changed from then to now.
So my job is as the extension specialist in water resources at Rutgers is to extend the knowledge of the university and bring it out to the people of the state and help them solve their problems. So I've been doing that for 16 years. I've got a full-time staff of 8 people right now. And it fluctuates, you know. And
I think all 8 of them have worked here in Woodbridge with you.
Yeah, they love working here in Woodbridge. And mostly because the food is great in Woodbridge, too. So they like that. Yeah, it's very important. So we run around the state and help people solve their water problems is what we're doing. Most of it stormwater management. So a lot of related to flooding and water quality. We've been going around putting in different stormwater management practices to try to capture that water, infiltrate it, treat it, so we can get cleaner rivers, cleaner parks, no more flooding, less water in our basements. So these are all the things that we're trying to accomplish with the program. And I've been here 16 years. It's been a lot of fun. I get to work with a lot of young people who bring a lot of energy to everything they do.
Right.
A lot of people are down on the millennials. I love the millennials. They work really hard.
I agree with you.
know?
Absolutely.
And they work really hard. They want to save the world, and they don't cost a lot of money usually. So it's
give them time.
It's nice. It's nice, you know. So that's kind of what we've been doing, and we've been fortunate enough to work here in Woodbridge with you for the last several years a lot, you know, which has been really nice. Actually, the first rain garden we built was in Woodbridge at the health center. Right?
Yes.
So that was the Department of Health. So that was really nice, and that's kind of how we got our start. So when I came to Rutgers about 16 years ago, we started doing a program called Stormwater Management in Your Backyard.
That's what I want to talk to you about.
So we're trying to get people to think about, you know, their responsibility to helping the planet. So what could they do on their property? So put a rain barrel in and capture rainwater and use that water, but also to put a garden in to take the water from the roof or the driveway. We build what's called a rain garden, which is just a shallow landscape depression, 3 to 6 inches deep. Takes the water from the roof or the driveway, goes into this garden, and the water slowly percolates into the ground, and it gets treated and cleaner. And it's a great way to manage stormwater. So we started building those a few years back. So I guess 13, 14 years ago, we built one here in Woodbridge. I didn't know I was going to build any more after that. Since then, we must have built 500 of these projects throughout New Jersey as demonstration projects. So, we love working in Woodbridge, but we work all over the state. Sometimes I'm up in Essex County, and in the morning I'm in Cape May County. So I tend to travel quite a bit for my job.
Wow.
So, but it's fun because you get to meet lots of great, interesting people who really care about the planet. So it's really nice.
Absolutely. So let's go back to our backyards.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Can you just plant any kind of plant in a rain garden?
For the most part, the idea with the rain garden is to capture the water and let it slowly percolate into the ground and absorb the water and treat the water. So any plant will do, but what we'd like to say is we'd like to use native plants that are used to this area. So that way they don't require any fertilizer, they adapt to the climate. Now, granted, the climate is changing, so native plants someday will be palm trees here, but right now, you know, we have lots of nice native plants. We try to use perennials so they flower, and we don't have to replant them every year. We can use shrubs and evergreens that'll stay green all year long. So it really is a garden that you get to decide what plants you want. We've done programs at Rutgers, rain garden rebate programs. We've gotten grant funding, and we give homeowners rebates for building the gardens.
Really?
So they would come in, and we would do an hour-long session, and I would teach them what a rain garden is, how to build one, why they would want one, and then they would come back a week later and sign up for a half-hour time block. They would meet with an engineer and a landscape architect, and we'd work specifically with them to design a rain garden for their house. And then if they build a rain garden, then we give them a Visa gift card for It's $3 a square foot. So if they build a 100 square foot rain garden, which is 10 foot by 10 foot, they would get a gift card for $300.
Okay.
Now they could only use a gift card at Rutgers bookstore, obviously, right? You know, no, just teasing.
But those sweatshirts are cool.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So this is a program that we run. We get grant funding to do this from different places, and we're able to do that.
Let me get this straight.
Yeah.
So they can take this class and for free.
Class is free, yeah.
For free.
Right.
Learn everything there is to learn.
Right.
Get special instruction on how to do this, and then you pay them?
Then we pay them to build it.
Oh my gosh!
So it's great, right? So it's a great program. We hope to bring it to Woodbridge someday. You know, we're trying to find some funding to do that. But it's really nice because at the end of the night, the people leave with actually a sketch of their garden, and it has all the plants listed on it, and they can go to their local garden center and say, here's the plants I need, go home and dig it out. Then they call us up and we come out, we look at it, then we send them a gift card. So it's a really nice program. It gets people excited about it. It's not a lot of money, but it's enough for people to say, hey, this is worth it. Investing in, you know. It doesn't pay for the garden to be dug out. If you hired a contractor to come in and dig that little thing out, it will cost you a lot of money, but for the most part, these are small. You know, you could dig them out by yourself, you know, so that's kind of where we go with this. And it's nice, and what I like about it is people are used to gardens. When you tell people it's a garden, they know you have to take care of a garden, you have to maintain it, right? So you have to weed it, and you have to remulch it, and sometimes plants die, and you have to replace them. Sometimes they get really big, you have to trim them back. So it's a whole process of managing water. Now, a lot of people we know have rain barrels. So they cut their downspout and have the water going through the rain barrel, and they use it for lots of things, watering their plants. Some people use it for washing their cats. You could take the top off, you take the cat by tail, and you just dunk it.
Oh no!
I'm just teasing. So there's a lot of things that they use the water for. But what's nice about the barrel is it only holds about 50 gallons of water. So when it overflows, they have an overflow spot where it goes into a rain garden. So they're coupling a rain barrel with a rain garden. So now they're really managing a lot of water. So if we had 40 homeowners do this, and everybody was managing about 1,000 square feet of impervious cover, which is a rooftop that's 50 by 20 or a driveway that's 50 by 20. We'd be managing about 1 million gallons of stormwater a year. 1 million gallons.
That's incredible. Just 40 homeowners.
So, and you know, you're not talking about a lot of effort, a lot of money, and not only that, these gardens are beautiful. So they really can add to the aesthetics of the community, to the neighborhood. We see a lot of people building them, and then there's a competition. My rain garden looks nicer than yours, and next thing you know, we're doing a rain garden contest in town, and then
we're on that.
Then we have we have scavenger hunts where if we go to the local store and usually Home Goods or something like that, where you can buy little trinkets and put it in the garden, you know, and then you say, okay, did you see the garden gnome in the rain garden? Did you see the swan in the rain garden? And they have to go through and they have to check off the gardens they've been to, and at the end they turn that in, and then we get a free ice cream cone at the local ice cream parlor, you know. So we have different things like that we try to do, trying to get people excited about this. You know, we hear that the climate scientists are saying we're about 12 years away from having catastrophic climate change, right? So everybody needs to step up and do things, and this helps. You know, and that's what's really important about it.
I think that's one of the things that people don't understand. You know, they're waiting for the federal government, state government, local government to fix everything and do all the changes. But in fact, if people just start doing little things that don't even really impact, it adds to their life, it doesn't make it more difficult, then we're all working on it.
There's a Chinese proverb, like the mighty waterfall begins with one drop of water. So what we're trying to do is catch every drop, right? And manage it. And I think that's the point of this. You know, we often wait for Washington to send the Army Corps of Engineers in to fix our flooding problems. And a lot of times, if we all did a little bit, we could lessen the problems. We get 10 inches of rain. New Jersey's underwater. There's lots of issues. But when we get 2 or 3 inches of rain, there shouldn't be as much flooding as there is. And we could fix that.
It's always that. I always say it's that first inch that causes a problem.
We can capture that first inch or two. Actually, these rain gardens are usually designed to capture the first 3.5 inches. So that's almost half the 100-year storm, you know. So that's a lot of water, you know. And if everybody just kind of did their part, you know. I mean, we take responsibility for our driveways, right? You know, when our driveway starts to break up, we seal it. You know, when our roof goes bad, we replace it. You know, when a refrigerator goes bad, you know, so we take responsibility for those things, but we don't take responsibility for the stormwater that we're generating from our property. You know, if our house wasn't there, it might be a forest and there wouldn't be any runoff. But we live there, so we have to do our part to lessen our impact on the environment. So that's what we're trying to do.
That's such a good philosophy. That's a good argument to help people understand why it is that they should do it.
So here in Woodbridge, last 2 years, we've been focusing on the libraries, right? Woodbridge is fortunate. There's 5 libraries in town. We have come up with rain garden designs for all the libraries, and we're slowly going around putting those in. What's nice about working with Rutgers is, you know, we'll come in the spring and work with your Department of Public Works. Have been fantastic guys. You know, work with your town, work with your engineer, and build these gardens. And then we'll come back and do the next library and the next library. But then we always go back to the first one and say, okay, how can we fix it? How can we tweak it? Is there anything we can add to it? So always looking ways to improve it, you know. And then you have garden clubs in town, and the folks at the library want to take care of it. So that's great. So the next step is schools. We got to work with the kids in schools, you know, because we can educate the kids, plus the kids can help build the gardens.
Colonial High School's begging for one.
Well, kids are great. It's free labor, right? You know. So, and what's nice is if you work with the elementary kids, are close to the ground, so you have to bend over so much to put plants in the ground. So it's really, it works out really good, right?
And everybody's passionate about it. The young people are all passionate about it. But it's amazing how Public Works, engineering, Rutgers, there's no silos here. Everybody's working together, and when they're building, everybody's smiling. Everybody's working hard, but everybody's smiling, and we can't forget that you get help from Eagle Scouts.
Oh yeah, the Eagle Scouts and the Girl Scouts are doing their Gold Award project. Right. Just fantastic. High schools have these honor societies, national honor societies. They have to do service hours. It's a great opportunity for them. What's really nice though is the Public Works guys who we've been working with in town. When we started, they had no idea what a rain garden was. Right. You know, and they start building it with us, and then they start changing the design a little bit to make it a little bit easier to build, and they're getting all excited about it and taking ownership of it. And now what we see is when there's a flooding problem in town, or there's an issue in town with stormwater, they say, hey, maybe we should put one of those rain gardens here. So now they're thinking about this as another tool in their toolbox that they never had before. And it's fun to build for them because they don't usually do that, you know. So it's really nice, and you know, it's not filling the potholes, which I know we still need to do, but you know, every once in a while these guys can take a break from that and maybe do some of these projects and help us reduce the flooding in town.
So while we're talking about potholes, let's stay on our streets a little bit. And you know, the roads are like a stream for stormwater management. What are some of the things that Public Works and engineering, and you know, as we upgrade our roads, what should we be thinking about?
So there's a lot of opportunities with the roads to put curb cuts in. Like we have a curb cut at the end of our driveway, so we can get from the road down our driveway or into our driveway. Well, we can also put those curb cuts in and put gardens alongside the roads, right? So that's one thing. The other thing we do a lot of, especially with parking lots, is we put in porous asphalt. Okay, so the original asphalt we had in this country was a very coarse material, and water passed right through. So what happened was we compacted the ground, we put the asphalt on top, water passed through the asphalt but couldn't get into the earth underneath because it was so compacted. So it froze, expanded and contracted, and a pothole was created. So we as brilliant engineers said, well, we'll add fines to the asphalt and we'll make it solid so water can't pass through. We'll never have another pothole. And that worked out really well, right? There's no potholes. Well, of course it doesn't work, right? So we have big issues still. So somebody came up with the idea about 30 years ago and said, well, let's go back. Let's flip the problem upside down. Let's put the coarse material down, but give the water a place to go. Let's put stone underneath the asphalt so the water can go into the stone and then slowly seep into the ground, and then we can get rid of the water. What's nice about it is when we have snow, you can still salt the asphalt, right, the coarse asphalt, but when we plow snow, we pile it up in the corner of the parking lot, right? And that snow melts, and the water trickles down onto the parking lot, and it flash freezes, and you get black ice. And then your mother-in-law comes over, she slips, she breaks her hip, she moves in with you for life, and now your quality of life is ruined, right? So, okay, maybe not. Maybe you like your mother-in-law, but okay. So anyway, so the point being. But the point is, though, when we have the porous asphalt, when that snow melts, it goes right through the asphalt into the stone, so you don't have black ice. So it helps with the safety issues, right? I mean, it should be certainly in every senior center and and every townhouse complex should have this, right? Particularly parking lots in schools, where teachers are going in. Heaven forbid a teacher falls and gets hurt, and we have to hire a substitute, So we really want to make sure that people are safe, and this is a great way to do that, particularly in the winter. And the material doesn't cost a lot more. The asphalt itself costs the same as regular asphalt. What costs money is we have to now excavate down and put the stone in, and that costs a little bit of money. So what we're trying to do at Rutgers is we're telling people about this technology because, 30 years ago when I got my engineering degree, they told us you cannot mix water and asphalt. You want to keep the two separate. And now we're telling people let the water go through the asphalt into stone. So it's really blowing the engineers' minds who aren't used to this technology. So we're trying to train engineers, trying to train township managers, trying to train public works guys to think about this as a new opportunity.
So do the streets become like a rain garden?
Streets become, but there's no plants. The water goes
same
into the
concept,
ground.
Though.
It goes right into the ground. Yeah. So and in Woodbridge you have a lot of clay, right?
Right.
So,
I was just going to ask you about how it works with the clay.
So the issue with it probably can't go into the clay. It won't infiltrate much into the clay, but we can store the water in the stone layer and let it out through pipes very slowly to our stream. So 2-3 days after the rainfall event, that water's starting to get to the stream, so you don't have flooding. Right. So anytime you can keep a drop of water out of the stream when the storm is going on, we're going to reduce flooding.
So I never remember the difference between retention and detention.
Yeah, so we have a lot of detention basins in New Jersey, which are basically those big grass basins. And the idea is they detain the water, they hold it for 24 to 48 hours after the storm, they let it out slowly, and then they go dry, and then we have to mow them once a week. The retention basin is also referred to as a wet pond. Right. So the idea is that there's always standing water in there. When it rains, more water goes on top of that water. That's where we store the water on top. And then everything kind of settles out to the bottom of the pond. And then we have to dredge the pond and get the sediment out every 10 or 15 years, right? Well, the parking lot, the porous asphalt parking lot, acts as a detention basin where it holds the water and lets it out slowly over time, whether it infiltrates into the ground or whether it lets it out through pipes back into the storm source system, back into the streams. The benefit of that is as water moves through the asphalt, it gets cleaner and cleaner because it acts like a filter.
Right.
So that stone kind of acts like a Brita filter you would have on your faucet as it filters the water as it goes through it. So now the water's coming out clean at the bottom. So all the oil and grease and stuff is trapped in those stone layers and degrades over time. So it's a really nice system.
That is interesting. So Woodbridge, with your help, if I may, put together a stormwater management plan.
Yes. So we actually determined that we used to do these big studies, right? And they would cost a lot of money to do and years to produce. And we were finding they sit on a shelf and collect dust, and we only use that very last chapter. Right. And that last chapter has all the projects in it that we should do. So we decided, you know what, maybe we should just write the last chapter. Forget about everything else. So we know impervious surfaces, pavement, rooftops. That's where all the stormwater is running off, is those hard surfaces. So let's identify where they are and how we can manage them. So we went into Woodbridge and we identified where are all the schools, because we love schools, because we can, work with the kids to put practices in the ground, educate the kids, and usually they're big places with lots of impervious cover, lots of rooftops and parking lots, but also grassed areas where we can put rain gardens in. So we look at schools, we look at houses of worship, the churches, the temples, synagogues, wherever place that people go to worship. Can we use those areas too? Municipal building, we built a rain garden out front here, right?
It's gorgeous.
So we look at firehouses. Is there a way to harvest rainwater in big cisterns, big rain barrels, so they can wash the fire trucks with them? Public Works department, right? When we go to the Public Works yard and harvest rainwater there, and they can use it to fill up their street sweeper. Or they can use it to wash down some of their vehicles. So we look for all those spots, we identify those spots, we put together a plan, 20 or 30 different locations in town, and now we're going systematically trying to find grant funding and other sources of money to go in and to start putting those practices in. Reaching out to the school, reaching out to the church, talking to the different business owners. Can we do something here at your parking lot? Can we put a rain garden here in front of your building? So that's kind of how it starts to act slowly, and it's really been a great experience. Because people which are nice, so it's fun to work here. But there's so many opportunities here, so many opportunities.
And we're so excited about it all, and the mayor is too. I have a funny story to tell.
Okay.
A number of years ago, maybe it's like 5-6 years ago, you came in and you met with us and you said you had a grant to do a study for us.
Right.
And I never saw the study. And Scott Thompson was our engineer then, and I go, Scott, did you ever get the plan? And he kind of changed the subject, went on, and he says, we got clay, we can't do anything here. And I'm like, I don't know. And I pushed it as much as I could, but, it was like we never got it. And then he retired. We got a new engineer, Mike Gellin. And he comes into my office one day. He says, look what I found on the shelf. That's what he said. It ends up on the shelf. And he was all excited. And it's really been, he's been a driver.
I knew Mike from his previous job before he came here. And he's a good guy, very open-minded too. So you need an engineer who's smart, who knows the engineering, but's willing to think out of the box.
Right.
Because that's what we're trying to do. And the problems that we're facing as a nation, aren't going to be solved with the simple solutions we always have. We've got to start thinking out of the box a little bit. The solution may still be simple, but we might have to think about the problem a little differently. Like instead of sealing that asphalt, let's let the water go through and give it a place to go.
Right.
It's just thinking about the problem a little differently.
Out of the box is so much fun.
So we're trying to teach our students to do that at Rutgers, and we have some great engineering students there, and landscape architecture students, environmental science students, planning students. They all work for me in the summer for interns. They love coming here to Woodbridge, and even though you have clay, they don't mind putting rain gardens here and digging things out and stuff. It's a lot of fun to educate them. And what's really nice is when you see these 20-year-old youth working with your public works guys, and that guy's been running that backhoe for 20 years, and we have a 20-year-old learning from this guy, and this guy learning from a 20-year-old. It's a lot of fun to kind of watch that interaction.
Yes.
And it teaches the students that you don't have to have an advanced degree to learn from somebody. That you can learn from everybody. And I tell them all the time, whenever we go and work with the township public works guys, listen to what they're saying. They've been doing this a long time.
They have an advanced degree in life.
They know all the tricks, which is what you need to learn in life, is the tricks, right?
And everybody who works in Woodbridge, they're great guys and women, and do terrific things. So I just have a little thing that I'm going to add, I hope, to the rain garden. I met with Middlesex County Cultural and Heritage Commission, and they have a program where they're trying to get people get together to build public art. And so I'm hoping to do this spring, get some public art, maybe with recycled materials, keep it all in the family, and place that in the rain garden.
It's funny you say that. We're working with Wheaton Arts Center down in Millville, and they do a lot of glass sculptures and stuff, and we're starting to put green infrastructure around their facility down there, and the artists are all excited about it because we're trying to figure out how can we incorporate our art into the rain garden. So you're starting to think about, and art brings a whole new group of people into it. You've got all these avid environmentalists who are excited about this, but some people aren't really that excited about the environment, but the art can bring a whole new group of people. They see it a little differently, and it can be really exciting.
And you know what? I think everybody is excited about the environment. They just don't know it.
That's right. That's right.
There's one aspect of it that they're like, I am. Another thing that I want to talk about is sustainable yards.
Okay.
And what does that mean? And sometimes when you think about sustainable with the wildflowers, and people think they're weeds, and then they get mad at their neighbor because it doesn't look like they're maintaining their yard. How do you do that rather than mowing all these lawns and everything?
I think the first thing is a lot of people like the mowed lawns, right? And what you need to really have with a yard is you really don't want the soil washing away. So you need something that's going to be there that's going to hold the soil in place. So turf grass is not a bad thing. When people over-fertilize it, it's a bad thing because they want to fertilize not just the grass, but the sidewalk and the roadway and their driveway, and that becomes a problem. A few years ago, they banned phosphorus in fertilizer, so there's only nitrogen and potassium in it now, so that's a little better for the environment. But anytime you can take a piece of turf grass and convert it to a natural area, and it can just be wildflowers, that's very important because we have an issue in this country with bees right now, right? So the bees are dying off very dramatically, and we have some researchers at Rutgers studying this and trying to figure out what some of the issues are. But one of the issues is that they're losing their habitat. So we really need to have more plants so these pollinators can have that. And we need bees and pollinators, because if we don't have that, our food doesn't get pollinated. And if it's not pollinated, then we don't have food. We don't have food, then we don't have people. Right, so we really need to take care of the bees, and these gardens kind of do that when you plant those wildflowers. Now, the problem is a lot of time that stuff dies off in the winter, and it maybe looks a little bit messy. So a lot of times we cut it back in November, you know, and let it winter over. You know, so there's also other plants that you can put in the garden that'll hold their seed all winter long, so it looks really nice in the winter. We use a lot of red osier dogwood or red twig dogwood, so they have these beautiful red stems. It's like a shrub, red stems, and then when it snows, they're red with the snow in the back, which is beautiful. Just stands out. So there's ways you can make
nice to have
those
something beautiful areas in the winter.
Yeah, so you can make those natural areas look really nice. I mean, a lot of New Jersey doesn't look great in the winter. So, but these things you can play around with it and get some interesting aspects to it.
Sounds good. So we only have a few minutes
for people, though, right?
We have we only have a few minutes left. So, what are your closing thoughts?
Well, I think number one is that if we're looking to fix flooding in our town, if we're looking to improve the stream and the fish in the stream, we can't wait for the government to do it. We all have to step up and do our part. And there's a lot of simple things that we can do as individual homeowners, individual residents, that aren't going to cost a lot of money, but could make a big difference. You know, put a rain barrel in, build a rain garden. We've got this great rain garden manual on our website. We have a rain garden app that we had University of Connecticut do for us, and we had middle school kids using the app, building rain gardens. So it's easy to do. And you know what? There's this thing called the phone that you don't have to just text on. You can call people.
Right.
Pick up the phone and call us. You know, we're the state university. We're here to help.
Right.
You know, so call Rutgers and find out how we can come out and help you guys. You know, and then keep harassing your mayor to make sure this stuff happens.
You don't have to harass Mayor McCormick.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he leads us in this.
But you know what? I mean, the whole sustainable Woodbridge movement has been remarkable, and you know, I see coming here and going throughout the entire state that when people start talking about sustainability, Woodbridge name comes up all the time. So congratulations on that, because you're certainly a leader in that.
And it's because we partner with people like you. And
partnerships are great.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you can't do it on your own, but there's things you can do on your own, but sometimes you have to partner with others.
Just like the guys in Public Works who are on a learning curve.
Right.
We were all on a learning curve, and you helped to teach us.
Good now. They're all good.
They're all experts.
Everything you need to know, they're good. So.
Okay.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here and constantly being in Woodbridge.
I love it. It's great.
We'll tell all our viewers when they see you out there with your team in the rain garden to wave
Bring me a
say
Diet
thank
Coke.
you.
That would be great.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Okay.
And thank you for watching Greenable Woodbridge and for being part of the change and part of the excitement.